Hello. Today we're discussing Parsha CHUKAT. Parsha starts from one of the most fundamental laws in Judaism, the law of Para Aduma, or the law of the red heifer. This law is part of the one of the three types of laws called Hukim. We have got three types of laws. Hukim, these are the laws which we simply follow as we told, and there is no explanation, or we cannot understand, we cannot provide an explanation for this particular law, why and what, and we are not questioning it. The examples of this is this law of the red heifer, as well as the law of kashrut, the laws of kashrut, like we do not mix milk and meat. And we're trying to provide some explanations to that, but really we do not fully understand the depths of it and the reason for it, and we are not asking. We simply follow what Hashem told us. As well as the law not to mix wool and linen in one set of clothing, etc. These are Hukim. The other set of laws which we have got are Mishpatim, and they are social laws, the laws which we can understand, and we fully understand the logic of those laws. And for instance, they are all 10 commandments, and we fully understand the logic of the 10 commandments. The third one is the Ade Edot, and these are the laws which we were told to follow those laws, and when we read about them, we understand the logic. What are they? For instance, this is the law to celebrate Passover, the day of our exodus from Egypt, and we understand that we're celebrating basically the escape from Egypt and our freedom. Right, the same applies to the laws, for instance, of Shabbat. For 6 days we work, and for the seventh day is the day of rest, because Hashem said so, is the day of rest, and we understand the logic of it. So these are, many nations, many countries have got the same kind of arrangements, like for instance the Independence Day in United States. Okay, United States achieved independence, and we understand the laws of this. Right? So these are the laws. Now, coming back to the law of the Para Aduma, the red heifer. This is the law which tells us how to purify a person if he or she were associated with death. Attended the funeral and were touching the corpse of a relative, for instance, or were close to the corpse under one roof with the corpse, and etc. The law is in principle saying the following, that there is a special mixture which is prepared from the sacrifice of the red heifer, which is a red cow, not older than 1 year, and it should be absolutely, not a single hair should be different color than the dark brown or red, red cow, and it should be absolutely perfect in every respect, and that cow is sacrificed, and the ashes of that cow mixed with the cedar wood, hyssop, and some other ingredients, and this is held in storage for the Jewish people who are holding it. There are 3 different types of storage for all of this, and this mixed with water, and then that water mixed with those ashes and everything else sprinkled on the person on the 3rd and the 7th day after they have been contaminated. And then the person goes to the mikvah, and in the evening he or she is totally purified to attend the temple. As you can see, all of this is very strange to us, and for many reasons. One, we don't have the temple, so it doesn't apply to us. The only inkling of that we still have got and still trying to understand is the fact that the Kohanim, even in those rare occasions where a Kohen, a rabbi, for instance, let's say, he has got no choice, he must attend the funeral to officiate it, he stands in a separate room under a different roof, right, to the coffin. And because he cannot be contaminated by death. I will not go into depths of trying to explain what this purification was all about. First of all, because I do not understand it fully, neither is anybody else. Even King Solomon admitted that he cannot understand fully this law, right? And it's not given to us to understand. We simply follow the law as it's given to us by Hashem. Hashem knows what it's all about, right? Okay, now the Parsha continues, and we suddenly transported in time 38 years later, because the previous Parsha finished with Korach, with the whole uprising and the whole problem when they were, taken in the depths of the earth, basically swallowed. Now, and that was at the second year or after Exodus. Now, 38 years later, and Miriam passed away. Miriam, sister of Aaron and Moshe. She passes away. And as a consequence of Miriam's passing away, few things have happened. Obviously, Moshe and Aaron are in mourning, and we understand that. In addition, the well of water, which was providing water to the Jews right through all of those 38 years, suddenly dried up. Why? Because it was given to the Jewish people in honor of Miriam. It was in her schus, it's an Yiddish word or a Hebrew word, schus, in her spirit, to recognize her high level of spirituality, because she was a prophetess. And she was a leader of the women, as a matter of fact, too. Now, so the well dried out, and people in few days' time come over to Moshe and Aaron and start bitterly complaining. Nothing has changed, as a matter of fact, from what it was 38 years ago. The whole complaining business which was taking place there, and then about water when Moshe hit the rock with his staff, sapphire staff. Nothing has changed. People complaining again. And this is a new generation which was born in the desert, which were never slaves, right? So now they're complaining, we need water for us and for our cattle. Moshe and Aaron, of course, fall on their faces in front of Hashem, because they understand that Hashem is not entirely happy with that. And Hashem tells them, this is what you do, guys. You take your stuff. He says to Moshe, Moshe, take Aaron and the staff. And we will come to that in a few minutes. Take Aaron and the staff, assemble the children of Israel in front of this rock, which I will show you, and talk to that rock. Ask it for water. What Moshe did was nearly what he was told to do, but not exactly. He took the staff, he took Aaron, he assembled the children of Israel, but instead of talking to the rock, he hit it with the stuff, exactly the same way as he did it 38 years ago. And this is, the water came out. Yeah, after 2 attempts, the water came out. But, so the physical issue was resolved, but Hashem got very upset with Moshe and Aaron and told him, because you hit the rock instead of talking to it, you will never see the land of Israel, you will not enter the land of Israel. Neither of you. And this is very perplexing, because somebody like Moshe, who led all of those people, it was his lifetime project. Somebody like Moshe, who led the people right through all the calamities of the desert for 38 years, now is denied to enter the land of Israel. And we will come to that, and we will discuss that in a few minutes in the end. Now I want to continue with the content of the Parsha. So now there is water, and the Israelites come to the border of Edom. Edom, the descendants of Esau, the brother of Isaac, of Isaac. Now, relatives, cousins, sort of have got a relationship with them. No, but what has happening? Moshe sends angels, basically, as messengers to the king of Edom, and asks for a permission to passage, ask for the right of passage to go through the land of Edom. And the answer is very rude and very, very unequivocal. The kings of Edom said, you are not to approach our land, and if you try to approach our land, we will kill you, we will attack you. We are Edom, remember, we are descendants of Esau, who is the warrior and the hunter and all of this, and you will be in big trouble. You do not even cross our border. And so the Jews had no choice but to turn eastward again, which was very similar to the direction which they took after the story with the spies. So they went this way, and they started complaining again. Again, the complaint now was about the food, because they were not happy with manna, and they were complaining not only about the manna itself, which if you would spiritually consume manna with some spiritual thoughts, you could have it tasting as anything you want. It could taste as a steak or a chicken or a fish or a chips or whatever it is you want. However, some people had higher level of spirituality, some are not. For instance, I believe my level of spirituality is a lot more to be desired. So those people who didn't taste anything, they complained. More than that, because manna was pure Hashem's Kedusha, crystallized Kedusha. So there was no need for evacuation of any kind of food physicality, so there was no need for them to go and do number two. There was no excretion, to be absolutely plain, right? They were not going to the bathroom for excretion, right? So they probably were doing the number one because they were drinking a lot of water, but number two, there was no need. So they were saying that they will one day, because they're eating and nothing comes out, so they will swell and they will die, and there will be a lot of problems. So people were really complaining, seriously. So Hashem got really upset at them and sent biting, firing snakes, which started biting people, and a lot of people started dying immediately. Moshe and Aaron, of course, went again back to Hashem and started asking him what to do. And Hashem told them, okay, guys, I want your people to concentrate on Shamayim, on the spiritual life. So what you do, you fashion a snake from copper, for instance, from anything, right? And put it on a timber pole. And when people pray to it when looking up to the sky, so then they will find cure. And when you're praying up to the sky, they will remember about me, Hashem, so that this is what I want them to do, so that they will understand that there is no need for them to complain about manna. And this is what they did. And yes, people stopped dying and everything went back to more or less normal. Then they continued on their way towards the land of Israel, and they came to the eastern side they were approaching the eastern side of Jordan River. Hashem told Moshe, take Aaron and his son Eleazar on top of the Mount Hor, which they approached the Mount Hor, they came to Mount Hor. Take them on top of the Mount Hor. Aaron must be dressed in his total regalia, all 8 pieces of Kohen Gadol. And then you undress Aaron and put all these clothes on Eleazar, his son. And then Aaron will go to the cave which is there, and it will be prepared, and there is a bed, and he will lie down, and I will tell him how to put his hands and how to do everything. And then he will pass away by the kiss of God. if you think about it, it's a death which one would really welcome. Why? Because there was no suffering. When Moshe saw this, he was thinking that he would like to die like this as well. And he did eventually. Hashem read his thoughts and obviously promised him that he will die exactly the same way. And he did. It was a peaceful death without any suffering. More than that, Moshe, when he was taking Aaron up Mount Hor, Moshe told him, you have been bestowed one of the greatest gifts which a father can experience, because you will be alive when you transfer your job, your project, your what you are, you will give to your son. So you will see your son taking up your position of Kohen Gadol, and he will become the spiritual leader of Jewish people. And if you think about it, which one father wouldn't like to see his son taking over his business, taking it over, continuing with it for the rest of his life, and so on and so on. So it's a huge gift which Hashem gave to Aaron. With Aaron passing away, the clouds of glory have disappeared, because as the well was in honor of Miriam, the clouds of glory were provided by Hashem in honor of Aaron. So the clouds of glory, they protected the Jews, from left to right, top and bottom, north and west, and from every direction. They were like a shield, first of all, so that if enemies would attack, their arrows which fly and will not reach people, right? Like a iron shield. Okay. More than that, those clouds of glory were cleaning up the desert, going in front and leveling it out, so it was a nice and easy walk. No up, no down, no problems, right? The only mountains which were left after the clouds of glory was the Mount Sinai, because this is where Jews received the Torah, Mount Hor, and the other mountains which I don't remember right now. And so no snakes, no scorpions. Everything was cleaned up for them. So now, since Aaron passed away, the Amalekites, our 100% enemies forever. The negative side of spirituality, the evil forces. The Amalek decided, we will attack the Jews. Now they're vulnerable. So they decided even to trick the Jews. So they got dressed as Canaanites. And they were trying to trick the Jews, so the Jews will pray to Hashem to fight the Canaanites, and they are Amalekites. So that was the idea that they will win. Didn't work for them, because Jews could see something is not exactly right, and they decided to whoever it is, they asked Hashem to help them, and he did, and they obviously destroyed them. Now then Jews continued eastward towards the eastern bank of Jordan River, and they were required to go through the kingdom of Sihon and Og, where the kings were Sihon and Og, and they asked them for rites of passage, and they were refused, exactly the same way as Edom. The only difference, these guys decided not to wait and attack the Jews. And of course, both of them, Sihon and Og, were destroyed, and Jews took over the land and went right through, as conquerors. They didn't, the people there didn't want to do it peaceful way. They got it the way they got used to, through fighting and suffering and death. So Jews destroyed them, took everything, and Jews promised, as a matter of fact, Hashem, that whatever they will get as spoils of war will be donated to Hashem, and they did. Anyway, they continued towards the Jordan River, and they were required to go through the very narrow valley with two mountains on both sides. And Amorites, who lived there, they decided to ambush them. So they hid in one of the mountains in the caves on top, and the other mountain actually had some kind of rocks which were sticking out towards those caves. Probably they were sometime prior separated, and the pieces of stone, of rocks, went one way, and this is how the caves were created. And guess what's happened? The Amorites put their commanders in there to ambush the Jews. The rocks, by miracle, by Hashem moved the rocks together and squashed these commanders inside the caves, and only blood came out eventually, and that was it with the Amorites. So the Jews came over to the eastern bank of Jordan River. And this is how the Parsha ends. Now, I would like to concentrate on two questions. Why Moshe's mistake hitting the rock with the staff was considered a serious mistake, such a serious mistake, and why he was punished so seriously, so badly by Hashem and him, and as well as Aaron, not to allow them to enter the land of Israel. There are many explanations. One of the explanations is saying that simply the pshat explanation, because he hit the rock instead of talking to it, and he made a mistake, and that's why there was the punishment. The other explanation is because he was basically talking to people and said, what are we going to do with you rebels, talking to the people, and let's try to get water out of the rock. So it was like as if he was saying that it's not by the miracle from Hashem, but it's he and people, people can create this miracle. And that's another explanation. And there are many, many others. I would like to introduce to you another explanation given by Rabbi Jonathan Tatz on the basis of analysis of many statements made in Torah and Rabbanim and our sages back in the centuries backwards. What Rebbe Sachs is saying basically is that, first of all, and I heard a shiur by one of the rabbis from Chabad.org, and he started actually with that. He said, which one stuff Moshe was using? The stuff originally which he was using in the days of Exodus, when he parted with that stuff this year, or prior to that, he started the plagues and so on. That was the stuff made from sapphire. That was the stuff of order and din and power and aggression. And yes, this is the stuff he used to hit the rock 38 years ago, right? Now, the stuff he was using now, and there are many indications towards that, was the timber stuff, which was used in the end of previous Parsha Korach by Aaron, when his stuff was put together with the stuffs of the other tribal leaders, the 12 stuffs, and this was the stuff which blossomed and bloomed and gave almonds. So Moshe was holding that stuff, the stuff of peace. The story, without going into a lot of psychological and explanations here, the generation of people which left Egypt were slaves. And for them, being hit by a stick was an important aspect of their life, because they were slaves for many, many years. And they were used to it. And yes, and they saw a rock being hit by a stick, and as a consequence giving water. Now, this was a new generation which was facing totally different life. The previous generation had life of miracles. They didn't have to work. They were getting food. Even their clothes was washed right on them. by miracle, right? They were protected. They didn't have to follow any laws in terms of financial affairs, financial laws, or earning money, running a business, running defense. Yeah, defense they were running, but with help of Hashem. So it was a miraculous lifestyle. Now this new generation, which was born in the desert, had a totally different agenda. They were required to enter the land of Israel and to build a new country, a new nation, in a new land, with all the laws, with all the efforts required to do and to lead a life where they still have to study Torah, to remember Hashem, and to be the nation of priests and the holy nation. But at the same time, they need to conduct their daily life in facing all the physicality which we're facing today. And that was a totally different set of problems, issues, which required a new leadership. And this is why Moshe was excellent leader and teacher, incredible teacher whom we still remember even today, thousands of years later. But he fulfilled his role for the generation which was the generation of Exodus. Now there was a requirement for Joshua to step in and to become the leader of the nation. Because Joshua had different skills. He was the leader of peace, negotiation, explanation, and convincing people how to do their job. No, they could not continue with spiritual and life of miracles. They had to engage the physical life, but on the other hand, they still required to be the nation of priests and a holy nation. So we will read about that in probably next parsha or thereafter. And I will see you next time. Good luck. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.